Hi, everyone. So excited to be here today again with Beverly Glazer. You know Beverly from so many shows here, but more importantly, her own podcast and everything she does for her clientele in such a quality, high professional, high integrity way. I also want to say today is, you know, another hour of Empower live stream. We're live streaming on LinkedIn and YouTube. And with that said, the word of the day is trust. Comments are wide open, so we value your comments to direct our thoughts and attention to you so we can provide some really quality, high value takeaways. Well, before chat comes through, because there's always a lag, let me turn it over to Beverly. Beverly can give you a quick update and I hope we're going to continue to build so much more value today. So thank you, Beverly, for being here. Why don't you share a little bit more and then our initial thoughts on trust?
Yeah. Well, it's always a pleasure, Dawn, to be here. Always, always. And the audience here is, I'll bring it up, trustworthy. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
There are people that keep coming back. There are people that keep adding to the show, adding interest to the show. And what you've created just by being here every single day is a trust factor.
Mm-hmm.
People know that you're there, and that's so important whenever you're building anything. It doesn't just happen in a flash. If it happens in a flash, it disappears. And so, what I do actually is I help people empower themselves in times of adversity, meaning that something that they have trusted, like it could be a partner, it could be their family, it could be just life in general, their job, has given them this kind of wake up call and everything falls apart. And trust has so much to do with it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we don't think of it like that. We think that things will always be there. When you get married, you do believe it'll be there for life. Nobody goes into something like that believing it's a divorce. Nobody goes into having children knowing all the problems that there will be. So we do have stress in our lives. And when the stress really comes, it's always having something to do with trust. If you're making a sale, you've already spent that money in your head. You've trusted that it'll come into the bank. And it's very hard when you say to yourself, no, 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 don't think like that. But you're just saying, hey, that's 10 grand. I already see it ahead of time. Oh boy, this is going to be. And then it crashes. And when we have too many of those issues, what happens is our self esteem goes down and we start feeling, I'm not good enough. What's wrong with me? And the spiral goes down. So, trust is a huge issue for everything and everybody. And we have to learn how to develop that and innately feel powerful enough that we can handle that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's where I come in, that's where you come in, and that's where hope our audience will come in and add value to what they know, like, and trust. And that could
What a
be a
wonderful
brand, that could be people,
what
anything.
a great beginning to a great show, Beverly. And I think you really identified trust is really a factor of the foundations beneath the trust. You know,
Yes.
the hardest thing about trust is being surprised by things you took for granted or you expected, right? I mean, because
Oh, yes.
once you calculate, once you integrate, once you factor it in, you get more comfortable. But
Mhm.
then once you find out, well, that wasn't as much as you thought it was, or someone said something, but now they can't deliver on it.
Yep.
Now everything has to be realigned, reviewed, and you're in a position of trepidation because let's say you save just enough for a vacation and you find out it's going
Yeah.
to cost 2,000 more. And
Mhm.
now you got to
Mhm.
figure out how am I going to get that money? And it's even more challenging as you get more insulated through people, right? Because you got to
Yes,
trust yourself, and then it's like a duo where if they fall down, they're going to make you fall down with them. So now you got to
exactly.
trust they keep it together. So I think one thing about trust is when you have it, fully appreciate it,
Oh,
understand the
yeah.
comfort it brings you. You know, when you have somebody of trust or something of trust that you know will be there for you. And that's where the future gets brighter, saying, well, if this happens, I know I can lean on that, or I've got some savings there.
Mhm.
And that becomes so important. Kelly's here. Kelly's just
Yay.
the foundation of this show.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yes,
she
yes.
certainly is. And I on Kelly's
Kelly.
show later today, The Awesome Journey at 1:11 p.m. Eastern Time with Christy Howard. Don't miss it. And following the show is Harvey Tuck's The Franchise Show. And I know Beverly's about to launch hers, and and she'll share a little bit about it. So I want to thank you again, Kelly. Tanya's here. Tanya's been a regular from
Yeah,
South Africa.
Daniel.
Appreciate
Yes.
you staying up for us.
Yeah.
Dennis, who's just without Dennis, we might have to just go home. Thanks for inviting us. Trust is so much better than Russ, so thanks for keeping us up in the know. Thank you, Dennis, because
Thank you.
it's the community of trust that makes a show and shows like this valuable because of safety. And whenever you have trust, you have safety.
Yeah.
And there's a cost of trust. And I think most people don't invest in the people they should trust, and they invest in the people they shouldn't trust because of maybe initial attraction. But I think
Mhm.
Beverly made a quality point, which is trust is something earned over time. And when
Yeah.
people show themselves over time to be dependable, reliable, trustworthy, they become a more valued person in your circle versus the people that, hey, they mean well, they're just got their head all over the place and they can't figure things out and they're procrastinating. And one day they say yes, and the next day they say no. And well, that's not a weather vane you want to put
Nope.
too much confidence in.
Yeah.
And Beverly and myself and a lot of people on the show have had a lot of experiences with distrust, with trust. I know Beverly's primary story for change was all about a trusting situation. So, Beverly, how do you build on trust?
Well, one of the things we have to build on trust, first of all, trust it takes a long time to build and it can go in an instant. And so you have to cherish that. If you're building it, don't be complacent. It can disappear in a heartbeat. And
Mm-hmm.
so what you have to do is constantly work on it. It's like a marriage, right? That can go in a heartbeat too, unless you work on that. Okay. It's relationships. Everything is about relationships. Knowing, liking, trusting comes from honesty. It comes from being transparent. And that doesn't matter whether it's in the workplace. That doesn't matter whether it's just on a social relationship area. Whatever it is, you have to be honest and transparent. No lies. Lies come out eventually. And
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't matter in the marketplace or anywhere else. And what happens is it's over time. You keep building it. You keep showing consistency, like in this show, Dawn. It's consistently, everybody knows at the 11 o'clock, we put out our time. Tanya from South Africa. Tanya, I think you're wonderful. In South Africa, at the end of her day, what she does is she makes sure that she's going to be here. Why? Because she knows the time. And if something does happen, guess what? Don will be accountable for it. He's going to stand up and he's going to tell you. And that's one way of getting to know, like, and trust the person that's behind there. If he lies, if he skirts around the issue and pretends it doesn't happen, it'll come out in the wash one way or the other. And it's those little things, stupid little things, that you can lose as far as trust goes. So be transparent, stand up to what you believe in. And people may not like it, but at least it's honest. And honesty builds trust. And you have to also demonstrate your competence. You shouldn't just be full of hot air. You know, you have to be able to stand up, have the testimonials, have people behind you that say, hey, I know who this person is. You have to also talk to people, give a conversation, ask them about themselves, not just go out and talk about you. Quite frankly, nobody cares. It's really all about themselves. So, what you have to do is you ask, be interested in people and get them to trust you. Not that you're getting them. I hate to make it like a catch. It's not. When you're interested in people, you're sincerely interested. And if you can help, hey, why not? But the first thing is a relationship, and all relationship, whether it's a company, whatever it is, it's built on trust. And yes, I trust my Amazon order to come in today. Yes, and I'll bet it will. Good company for good customer service. That's it. That's all. You are your message. You really are. So speak to it honestly, and you're the one that people will trust. Dawn, back to
Yeah, I
you.
think that's great. I could listen to you for the whole hour, actually. And you know, I
You're
do,
great.
I do believe.
Ask that to my tell that to my husband, right? That's
Well,
great.
the thing is every day you have to earn your trust again. You
Yes.
can't not pay your dues in order to receive that trust. And trust does not always have to be financial. A lot of it's confidential. It's somebody that something happened and they're the only person you feel you could talk to
Mhm.
and who will understand and be objective, not somebody who you can talk to and they'll tell you everything is great, you're the best, when you know that's not always true. So you want honest eyes, new eyes, if you can, to an older person in your life. It could be a
Mhm.
mentor, it could be a teacher, it could be a religious leader, it could be anybody you look up to and want to build that trust. The other thing about trust is you don't need a big memory if you're honest all the time, right? When you got to decide who did I say that to and why, and most people lie about the dumbest, silliest things, and they're not even aware of it, right? They'll embellish how much they make or what they have or who they're with or name drop. And
Yeah.
after a while, you just say, what is it going to take to get to normal? When are
Yeah.
you going to get to the point where it doesn't matter about you? We're here for me, right? And you.
Mhm.
So it's a twosome. It's not like someone just does something, someone just hears it and goes. But before we go too much further, Lanisha's here. Thank you for being here. Great to see you. I know Lanisha's so busy. It mentioned she's done 5 keynote speakers situations this year. Natalie's here.
Awesome.
Always great to see Natalie.
Hey.
And I just want to congratulate Natalie. I saw in her post she's put a book
Yes.
out, and we want to get out there and support Natalie. So check out her post and her book. You won't go
Yes.
wrong. So thank you,
It's
Natalie.
beautiful. Just beautiful.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
the colors on the post. So it's great to celebrate other people who have supported other people, and it's
Mhm.
through support you gain trust, not through trust that you gain trust. People show up, they're consistent, they're there for you, they elicit trust from you, and from them back to you and to everybody around. So that's so important. Debbie's here. Love to
Hey,
see
Debbie.
Debbie. Always on the move, doing something. I hope you're getting settled in to your winter home. Great to see you. Natalie's appreciative for sure. And,
Yes.
we're
Well
supporting
deserved.
people who are deserving of support. So that's part
Yes.
of trust and honesty. It's like a critic. If you trust them, if you align with them, what they say has value, right? They may save you from going to a movie you might have went to, and they may create an opportunity you wouldn't have. You may not have known the other one was better or worse, but it gives there's that placebo effect. Is that when someone believes in something, whether it's true or not, it really motivates their activity or demotivates
Hmm.
it. If someone says
Mhm.
it's going to be a tough go, you're already preparing for the tough go. You're looking for it. When's it going to happen? And if someone says it's an easy trip, you're going to think, well, hey, I'm just going to have time to enjoy myself. And maybe that's enough to make the trip more enjoyable,
Mhm.
anticipating it. And
Mhm.
the other thing, getting back to trust, is communication and is testing that trust. Before you lend a lot, lend a little. See what happens when you give somebody $5 or $10 when they say, hey, can I borrow it? It's one thing if you give it, it's given.
Yeah.
If you think
Yeah.
it's coming back, then you're way off the trust message. And I think
Yeah.
that's part of communicating, and people will change and their trust levels will change. So it
Yeah.
can't be set and forget. It's like, hey, this person was great, but then they lost all their money and now they're getting aggressive in what they're doing, or they did something in their life and now it's not the same for us. But that's the other thing to anticipate is change
Mhm.
and get in front of change. To say if something's going to change, just let me know. It's okay to change as long as I'm in the loop. It's the betrayal of trust that hurts the most,
Mhm.
not the losing of trust. If someone started up front and said, hey, I can't handle that anymore. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Do I have enough time to make an adjustment versus where are you? You just left, didn't tell anybody, things of that nature. But I think if you're smarter, you can see elements of trust in other qualities.
Yeah.
Before you even see the trust, is are they looking you in the eye? Are they being thoughtful and respectful around you? If you're missing those qualities, you're probably not even better. You're better off not investing in trust. Um, okay, so okay, we got some more.
Yeah.
Um, Dennis says, agree, stand out, stand up and stand out, not with hot air, and ask questions, and you will stay cool and won't be a fool. You'll be okay in the no and avoid the no. Um, Dennis keeps coming up with these great things. Communication is key when it comes to having an issue with someone or having someone having an issue with you. There's nothing worse than being left in the dark. Yeah, that's
Yes.
the thing, because
Yes.
not only did they leave, but they left you with a question mark. And now you start, maybe, what did I do? What didn't I
Yes.
say? Did I miss something? Beverly?
And another thing, yes, Natalie, I'm just going to, elaborate on that. When you are trusting someone, it should be confidential. And that should even be a given. And,
Hmm.
it's one on one and not spread the word with gossip. You should be a trustworthy friend, whatever it is. Now, in the work that I do, it, of course, is always confidential, whether it's coaching, whatever it is in the coaching model, it's between two people. But why people really want to work with someone such as myself is that it is confidential. You can share things with people that you can trust. And so, whether it's a religious leader or a real trusted friend, and I say a real trusted friend, that's a gift because people judge and they judge all the time. And so, if you're really having a problem, that problem is that minute, and you may resolve it, but someone else will hold that and still keep it there and continue judging and not even knowing that if it was a relationship problem or whatever it is, they look at you somewhat different. But a true friend or somebody that you could really be confident and capable and trustworthy won't judge. It just is what it is. And so, yes, you're lucky if you have that trusted friend or find somebody that you can share with. Because once you have relieved yourself of the burden that you're carrying with somebody that you trust, it's so uplifting. And so, yeah, give yourself that gift always, always, always. Not everybody is lucky enough to have someone that they can trust.
Well, that's
Right.
wonderful advice. And in addition to it, what came to mind is some people you could trust for certain things and other
Yeah.
people for other things, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So if it's somebody who you just are close to, a family member, and you just trust them to be good company and have fun and take your mind off of things, and that's something you can trust. If they're a financial person, maybe not even a family member, probably better off not being a family member. Then
Yeah.
there's certain things you can trust with a you have to trust with a lawyer. You have to trust with a doctor and accountant because that's where they start from, right? Tell me
Yeah.
what your issue is. Well, if you're not
That's it.
going to be honest with them, and people don't always be honest because they're afraid
Mm-hmm.
to admit, I've got an issue, I've got a problem, I'm embarrassed, I just lost a lot of money, or I just bought a
Mm-hmm.
boat and now I don't know what I'm going to do. Who knows whatever the situation, but you got to get clear and trusting of yourself with it
Mm-hmm.
and be results oriented because some people will take advice but not do anything and they'll
Yeah.
pay for advice. How many people have ordered websites or projects and never launched them, right? They did everything but do it. They paid for it, they spent the time. And what happened? They didn't trust themselves to take
Mhm.
the action step. And that's why so many people are into planting and cultivating and not harvesting. They go
I
back
like
to
that.
more planting and more cultivating. And all they do is get more and more of something that doesn't lend itself to completion. And
Mm-hmm.
I think trust is something that you gain in yourself when you become more self sufficient because the best trust is self sufficiency, not being dependent on others, being able to trust people for advice or for their thoughts, but not for your action steps. So I think it's
Yeah.
really breaking it down and understanding what part of it are you heavy on? Are you
Mm-hmm.
heavy on planting and not cultivating or harvesting? Who are your five people that you trust the most? And why do you trust those people? And
Mm-hmm.
based on that, that would give you a great qualifier for anybody new. Well, if they're like Uncle Harry, they're going to be a great advisor. If they're like my best friend Jim, hey, that would be great. And then work with the people who are trustworthy,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more relevant, more important. So back to you, Beverly.
Okay. Well, you did say an awful lot of things. Yeah, trust. Trust in business, trust everywhere else, trust your brand, trust who you are. And what you also have to realize is we do trust certain brands. Brands have built up their brand for what it is. And what happens is whether you are, I'm thinking of particular incident where, and there are many of them, if you're selling a product, like for instance, real estate, I'm thinking of something like this, where you see a lot of people or people come into your space, like a store, you immediately judge. You don't trust that they're going to buy. Are you kidding? This is just another person, right? And how many people, how many sales do I lose? Like it doesn't really matter. I'm here, there for the rest of the day. There's this feeling that I don't trust. It's time for me to leave. My day is done. I'm not putting in my 100%. I'm done. And I'm thinking of a situation where this was a client and he came from an extremely wealthy family, beyond wealth. And you would never know it. He was a guy in his mid 20s. He was looking for a condo. His parents owned tremendous amount of real estate all over the world, but well, you would never know it. He's just a kid, right? Looking for a condo. And he went from a condo that happened to have been downtown here. He was looking for another one, and he wasn't interested in going into the trendy areas. He wanted a specific kind of condo, and it was in the $2.5 million range. And here he is looking, and he actually found it. And his mother flew in from Europe. They don't only have one private plane, by the way, they have two. Okay. And she comes in her jeans, and she just comes in, and they're looking with the real estate agent. And the real estate agent took a look and says, oh, this is that. And she was very flippant about the whole thing. And as soon as the mother and son went into the car, right, The mother flipped over and said to the son, she says, I would like to give her a piece of my mind. If we wanted, we could buy the whole darn building. And, the way he said it, because I know his mom and I just know the way she would have said that, it's like, and it wouldn't have been darn, okay? It's like, don't judge me, okay? Now, this woman did not trust in the fact that she had any value just by the way she looked. She just came back from the plane, albeit it was her plane, and she was dressed very, very cash. Nobody could have known. And what I find in many respects is a lot of people that have an awful lot of money do not trust, because money is not the object at all. They know that somebody is out there to take their money. They want value. They trust in your value. And they're not making value judgments on how much you make and what you do. They make money. I mean, they make money because they are smart, okay, at what they do. But they're not looking for anything other than a trusted person that can give them the value that they need. And that's what I think we can carry to just about everything, Dawn. Whether it's shoes, when we trust the brand, if you are flippant about the person's capability of buying or doing, judgment is a whole other thing. Just trust that you're there to serve. That's it. And they will buy if they buy, but it's not about being hungry. It's all about relationships and building relationships on trust. And so back to you, Dawn. I just thought of that situation
I
because,
think that's
wow,
a really insightful way of understanding trust, is that it isn't a standalone quality.
no, no.
It's based on respect. It's based on uh, thoughtfulness and care. Because some people, you're right, don't need any more money. So you telling them how they can save $1 a week on their electric bill would be like a drop in the ocean. But if you could show how you could make their life easier, happier, better, because that's what they suffer from. When someone's got an overabundance of something, and my ex partner was a, I'd say, be a billionaire in today's dollars, would always share with me how much responsibility, how much work it was to maintain that much money.
Yeah.
Tax reasons, accountants, lawyers, you're always being sued. I mean, you're just a target for people, and that makes you
Yes.
trust the inner circle more. But it also gives you blinders towards the outer world. And if someone
Yeah.
can come in and demonstrate a bridge that you can have the trust inside and also have the feedback and the interest on the outside, that makes you for a more complete person. And here's the other element. So many people have people they can trust in front of them, and they don't take advantage of it. They don't reach
Exactly.
out. Someone's already proven trustworthy. Now give them something to trust. And
Yes.
instead of just putting a toe in the water in every little water that you find yourself in, how do you totally immerse yourself in something? How do you get full value, full benefit, and how do you create high performance with that? Because you can't free someone else if you're not free, you know? And you can't help somebody in a way if you couldn't help yourself. You've got to be first and foremost. And because of that, you won't have to depend or have to make something off of somebody when you can make something with and for that person. So there are choices. Anybody can go halfway, take the half, and leave everybody with nothing. But some people can go 1.5 and just take their half and leave somebody with double. And it's a choice, right? And if you're not majoring in the minors, if you're not keeping score all the time, because you can't trust somebody who says, well, I paid twice for lunch the last 2
Oh
times.
gosh.
You haven't paid at all. And it's like, here, take twice what you're talking. Don't talk to me ever again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little extreme. But if that's what you're into, we can settle that pretty quickly. But the thing
Absolutely.
is, Honoring people, if you trust them, to ask before you judge is a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get a bill in the mail and you have no understanding what it is, and you're jumping to conclusions. They double billed me. They did this. They did this, and then you make a phone call and say, "Yeah, you're right. I forgot my last payment. That's why the bill's so
Hmm.
much or something." And it was nicer to trust things you don't know yet, people have yet to meet. And until you get that real advice, don't knock yourself out, because some people get bad news that isn't as bad as they initially think it is. It's a small fine, or it's a this or a that. But it's almost like you got to give yourself like 24 or 48 hours to really get affected by something, because the first night is kind of freaking out, and and the next day is okay, it's starting to make sense. And the third thing, here's how we work it through, and not everything comes to you in the way or shape or time that you'd love to have it accommodate you. So it means,
Hmm.
hey, this is a special situation. I'm going to have to do a little bit more, whatever it takes, to get back
Hmm.
into a trusting, safe, happy situation. And I think it's better to go in with a couple strong workout buddies when you go into a tough deal than try and think about it yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh
What,
yeah.
what, do, you, what do you have? Well, let's see.
Uh,
We got Dave here. Dave, love
Hey,
Dave.
Dave.
Love this word of the day and its impact on our daily lives and so many different relationships we engage
Yes.
with every
Yes.
day. The more you trust and can be trusted, the better off everybody will be. Why was the tire working as a chef? He won a Michelin star award. Well, Carrie, I'll never see a day without a joke. So, Beverly, why don't you take it
Yeah.
to the next level?
That being said, I lost my train of thought, but trust me, I will get back on track. Yeah. Yeah, we'll go right back to that no love and trust factor. Okay. Where is it has to be consistent. And in a relationship, for instance, it can go south big time. And if it matters, like a relationship with a partner or whatever, and I say if it matters, all relationships matter, but some more than others, you cannot forget what happened. It does not go away. It never goes away. You can forgive, but quite frankly, you cannot forget ever.
Mhm.
Okay. So to rebuild on trust, you have to rebuild a relationship. And I always tell all my clients this is a new relationship now. And when you rebuild it, it will always be better. It will be better because there was a crack in that vase. And now you've repaired that crack. And so it's stronger, and you know where you're vulnerable, you know where things went wrong. So what you do is you work on that, but it takes building, it takes time. Trust takes a while to build. It takes an instant, a nanosecond to destroy. And so if it matters, fight for it. And I mean it. If it matters to you, go back. If it matters to you, say, I really want to repair this. How can we repair this? What can I do? How can I make it better? But then, not just words. This has to come with action. You have to do. Anybody can talk. It's about the doing that matters. And it's the doing that builds the trust. And so, relationships, brands, you go into a store, you're cheated once, you're not going to go in, and it doesn't matter how many franchises they have. That's it. That's all for you. You know, it just burns you. So you have to be very, very cautious when you build trust, not to just destroy it. Keep working on it, make it work. And if something works for you, if you really want that relationship, believe me, when it goes south, fight for it. Don't just let it go down the tubes.
Yeah,
Don?
great points. And I think that one big element of trust is responsibility and accountability, right? So when
Yes.
something went wrong on a trust level, one should again look internally and say, did I create a situation here? Did I motivate a situation? Was I
Yes.
a party in some way to this? And whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, accept that that's what it is. And the other
Mm-hmm.
thing is, your initial thoughts of distrust are based on an misunderstanding.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
even though if it's a trust issue or a directional issue, like I told you to put $200 in a bank and you only put 100, and now a bill didn't get paid,
Right.
and it could be,
Oh,
well, last time I talked to you, you said 100. I just followed what you said, and maybe they're right. But, at least by saying, I don't understand this, and to be totally honest, I'm not even comfortable with it. Could
mm-hmm.
you help me
Mm-hmm.
out somehow and
Mm-hmm.
explain what I don't know or what I should know? And if there's no explanation, then that's the explanation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it is what it is, and that's when it's in your court to decide next action. Well, maybe next time we're going to make sure everything is documented. That always
Yeah,
happens in business. You order 10 and
for
they send
sure.
you 20, and somebody will say, well, let's look at the purchase order. Let's look at the receiving amount that came in and where
Mm-hmm.
was an issue. And when you're doing a lot of things, there's a lot of mistakes, and you usually have someone to go over with someone in the other company to say, okay, let's take out all the paperwork or all the data, see where
Mm-hmm.
we are. And with people, it's a little bit easier because in some ways, you're not trusting people all the time to do very much all the time, right? Most people are just doing what they do, and you're doing what they're doing. And I mean, you're not keeping score with stuff like that. It's only when it's like a significant trust factor,
Yeah. Yeah.
that, hey,
Yeah.
that stuff we always talked about, and we always talked about, and how important that was to me,
Yeah.
right? And someone did something independent, and especially thinking I wouldn't find out. It's one thing if you jumped the gun and, hey, I was going to figure it out the next day anyways in the bank account. But it's another thing is if you got a secret life going on, you
Yeah,
know,
that's a
or,
whole different thing.
yeah. And at that point, it's like, how do you unring a bell?
Yeah.
How do you go
Yeah.
back into conversations that people shared with you? And you knew now they knew something, a whole different world, and you weren't part of it, you
Right.
know? And that usually comes down to greed, want your
Yeah.
cake and eat it too, and I think that's where a strong person would just look at the other person and say, without saying it, you're pretty weak, right? Whatever
Right.
it was, I was going to find out. So why'd you have to go through this? And, I think people appreciate when you're upfront. The opposite turns out to be true. I knew when I was doing a lot of restructurings and creditor resolution for big companies that were going through a turnaround. And it was always about trust from the get go, because you get together all these credit managers fly in from over the country, and there's a lot of money at stake.
Mm-hmm.
And, all of a sudden they got money owed that they can't collect totally. So now the question is, what do we do? Well, there's two things. You can liquidate the company and get liquidation value, or you could save the company and get more over time and continue to do business. Well, every credit manager would always say, whatever you tell me once is what I'm going to tell my boss. And if you tell me the check's in the mail and it's this much, my boss will know it. If that doesn't come in, I won't be able to work with you like this anymore. So you're better off sharing. So the other thing is, hey, something just came up. Got a payment a week from now. Here's what I'm dealing with, right? Might not be
Right.
able to make it. Well, then I can tell my boss, hey, there's been a change and you're straight with me. So if you want trust from others, you got to demonstrate you're worthy of it and you're communicating it all the time. I used to have other people. I had a Tuesday every week at a certain point that I had to talk to the head credit guy. He was the head of the committee, kind of what he said went. And it was always, where are you? What are you doing? And I learned what a difficult job these people have. And I started to sit on their side of the table and understand. And what could I do to help you? You know? And once people see that, then there's even more trust, because when you go over and above what's expected of you, right? You gain
Always.
more trust. What's your thoughts, Beverly, on that?
Yeah, always. Always go that extra yard. I think it's appreciated, and it's also there for you when you need it. Not that you're doing it for that intent, but it's always appreciated when you go that extra yard. So, a Christmas gift, a something, whatever, appreciation. I'd like to focus on what Maria is saying right now, which is rebuilding trust can be challenging when there's a significant breach, personal or professional. That is so true. Okay. Um, and it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. It really depends on how much that person, whether it's personal or professional, matters to you. It's, I like to look at it as almost like a point system. Some people, it's really important to get that relationship back. That could be a partner that you're with. That could be a really good friend that has been with you for I don't know how many years, since childhood or whatever, and it really matters to you. Whatever it is, right? Your children, whatever it is, that should be really on a 10 level. You should really work on that. Other people, you have to do your own kind of scoring, you know? But nobody has to be completely X'd. That's how I feel about it. I think you can deal with everybody. And I know, because I know I can, and I know I have, and that they've dealt with the best, and I've dealt with people in really low places. But it doesn't really matter. People are people. I just don't trust them as much. And that's okay. I don't have to trust everybody. But nobody has to drive you totally insane. You have to kind of know, you have to have the insight, you have to have the balance, and you also have to be able to trust yourself that you can handle the situation one way or the other. And the only way to do that is through communication. And like you were saying, Dawn, you went and you were talking to this guy and you got to understand what he's dealing with. And when we understand what the other person's side is all about, everybody's human, everybody has problems, right? And so when we relate to one another as people, believe me, we start trusting each other slowly, slowly, depending. Okay. Some people have been burned more than others. And then what happens is there's a slow communication, and this is the guy I'd like to work with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and build on that. But Maria is so right. It can be extremely challenging depending on the personality that you have to deal with. And that would primarily be on the professional level. The personal level, you kind of have weeded out the people that you don't want to deal with. But on the professional level, very, very tough. So you have to know how to be a good negotiator there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think too, you have to look at some short-term relationships are different than long-term relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Some relationships have collateral impact
Mm-hmm.
because some people
Right.
could be family friends, could have
Mm-hmm.
helped with, as your kids were growing up, almost like an uncle, and all of a sudden something happened, and some things are unrepairable.
Yep.
Some people have done things to people that they can't even be comfortable around them, let alone
Mm-hmm.
dealing with them,
Mm-hmm.
because that how could you message keeps coming out of their head. Why would you?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is, devastating to some people. Some people are not as resilient. Some people don't get off the canvas that easily. And I think that's where referrals make a difference. I think that's an important. If I say, hey, I've got a plumber, he's just so great. He comes in, does a quality job, is reasonably priced, and a very happy, honest person. Because usually when someone says, well, someone's coming to my house, how honest are they? They might mess up the
Yeah.
plumbing, but they're not stealing my jewelry. Now,
Yeah.
that's the thought people have, but that's a thought that most people can alleviate again up front.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
when a person came into someone's house, it'd be so easy to say, I really put a lot of value on trust. I try to be high integrity. Well, if you can put that out front and you're sincere about it, you're going to open
Mhm.
their ears and minds more to what you're saying than someone tells you how great they are and you look like you just rolled out of bed and it looks like your stuff is all over the place. I mean, you got to be the whole package to really support full trust, because if not, it's going to be, there's a little curiosity about that person. Did you notice this? Right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
you're the one who shows up at people's homes or offices or whatever. How do you want people showing up for you? What would be the best look someone can give you? Well, that's the best look you should try to prepare for somebody else, to put them at ease, to put them at comfort early. And I think that's why people trust people, is sometimes people just tell you what you just told them in a different way, right? But it's the way they told you, the comfort you were in, the safety, and they just wanted someone to tell them they were right, probably. And in most cases, they know much more about what they're talking about than a casual observer for the first time,
true.
right? Because most of the time, the person getting the question has more questions than answers initially. Like, well, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Can you
Mhm.
go into a little bit more detail? If it's a significant issue, why not lay it out on the table and organize it? When you go in to see somebody, you've got your, ducks in a row. If some people just want to get upset and get emotional and get frustrated, you're not helping yourself with that person, because it's going to be an awful experience for them. All you're doing is transferring it. Now you got two people feeling bad about this other person instead of coming up with the solution. But people are like snowflakes. Everybody's completely unique and different. Every situation with people is different. And you got to just know how to qualify, classify, organize. And the
Yeah,
main thing is, is this important or not? And if it's not
yeah.
important, it's not an issue of trust then, right? If someone took two cookies out of a cookie jar instead of one, sure, they took, but that's like, it happens. And who cares, unless you were waiting for that cookie for a long time. And I think you got to pick your fights and say, up to this point, I'll trust anybody, right? I'll give anybody $1 for as many dollars that I give away. And if I never give it back, good luck with the dollar you just got,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Because if you're going to, like, everything is a fight, how many times you're with somebody and you just say, give it up. It's not worth it.
yeah,
What are you going into more detail? I
yeah.
remember, without naming some of my relatives, they fight over 2 pounds of carrots because they got charged for 3 pounds. I remember being out in the parking lot already, and back, I was like, sense. No, we got to go back in and get this. But that's what it took for that person. I respect that. But at a certain
Yeah,
point, if it's going to distract you, frustrate you with trust, and the other thing about trust, which is hard, be the first to give it, and then you'll know what you're going to get back. What's your
yeah.
thoughts? Boy, we're coming up on top of the hour.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
a great
Oh,
talk.
yeah. Yeah, no, no. Well, for me, I trust everybody until I don't. Okay. And what I'm saying is I'm open, right? I'm not, now when I say I trust everybody, I'm not a total fool. I don't open myself to everybody, but everybody deserves a chance. That's how I kind of look at it, right? And people usually do not disappoint me. Um, honestly, very few disappoint me. And I have to tell you, I mean, I've worked with people in witness protection. I'm talking about that, okay? And that's the level, okay? And I mean serious witness protection, not like the way we talk as a joke, we're all our secrets in witness protection. I mean, these people nobody knows, and I only talk to them on the phone. I don't even know what they look like. Okay. The bottom line is I trust that they're going to show up. And guess what? I even trust that they're going to be honest with me. And guess what? They are. But in the beginning, do they trust me? Of course not. Okay. But gradually, they start to see that, yes, I have confidentiality. That's the number one key. Yes, I can give them the tools to help them. That's, of course, the number two key. The key is how can that person help you? What can you receive? It's all about the other person, right? So what happens is trust has to be built, it has to be developed. And as you were talking, Dawn, you were talking about referrals. The best way is if you ask somebody that you can trust to refer you to somebody
Mhm.
that they can trust, whether it's a doctor, whatever it is. If somebody you know can help and you trust that person, that's the best way.
Mhm.
Referral more than anything, whether it's a store, whether it's a person, it's like going to a party and meeting other people's friends. Chances are you're going to like their friends, maybe a few not, but maybe they don't either. That person was just a tag along. The fact is, we are all out there. We're all people. We can all trust and not trust. But another thing, we have to trust ourselves too. And that is huge. Often we ask too many people too much advice. And you have to know who to go to. And then trust yourself that that is what you believe. Trust your gut. Trust that you also know, yes, I can take that leap. This is something that I can do because I want to and I believe that I can. So that's a whole other level of trust. But trusting is extremely important on all levels for everything that we do. Trust your body that it's going to work for you
Mhm.
every day. That's a big thing, and yeah, on many levels. But the primary thing really is to go out there and be open, but have an opportunity. And I really look at it as an opportunity to be open to other people and then get to know people, get to understand where they're coming from, and then trust will develop. You will be so surprised. It will work for you. It doesn't matter whether it's the parking attendant or the person in the president's office that is the secretary of the president or the president himself. It doesn't matter. People are people. You say hello, you be kind, they will get to trust you. That
Mhm.
person, that doorman in the front, he's going to say good morning to me every single day. He's going to be a trusted friend on a different level, not like, your children who you hope love and trust you, but and you've built that relationship. The bottom line is everybody matters, and be open to that, and then put scales, put things into balance. Know, like, and trust, and you will be trusted. I firmly
Well,
believe that.
I think that, the point you make about referrals is so valuable because now you're getting another person involved.
Mhm,
So if Jim says to me, hire Jack the plumber because he's a great plumber, if Jack
mhm.
turns out to be not a good plumber, it's like, why did you refer me to this person? Right? If I became a bad customer to the plumber, the referrer would say, why did you give him a hard time for? Why did I send him over and then all of a sudden you had a problem with his price, you had a problem with this? I'm not going to keep referring people to you. So it works. Now you've got a
Exactly.
triangle where all three parties are somewhat responsible for whatever happens, just like a matchmaker. Someone
Mhm.
hooks you up with somebody that turns out to be great, you'll always be grateful. And the other way, maybe you won't be so grateful. And I think if you take it one more step, it's the community, right? If
Mhm.
10 people say, I know Jackie, she's just great. Well, everybody now knows Jackie 10 times better because of the
That's right.
10 times. And when Jackie shows up on the show or wherever she appears at, she's already going to get a tailwind going in based on people who support her. That's why people tag people in posts. That's why people promote
Mhm.
other people's posts. That's why I was promoting Natalie's book because how many books do all of us write, right?
Millions.
And it's nice to get showcased and it's nice to be spotlighted in a good way. And it's nice to be
Mhm.
shared with people who are like-minded and can help you. I mean, nobody's in a rush to be slow. Everybody's looking to accelerate. Everybody's looking to gain more momentum. higher ground, more success, and you can't do it alone. And it's not as much
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
you need the people you can trust. I think the key is, again, at what level. Some people you can trust to go get a newspaper and bring it back. And other people you can
Maybe
trust,
not.
well, maybe just whatever. But and some people you can trust to go around the world for you,
Uh-huh.
right? Get on a plane, go to Hong Kong, meet these people, make this happen, come back home. And you're always placing bets. And some bets are paying off pretty well. Other bets are covering themselves, and others are just, hey, we're never going to trust that person again. But it's not
Mhm.
because they're not trustworthy, they're not capable. They're not up to that trust level. They need to build their way up. And I think that's where you're encouraging people to learn how to trust by how you trust them and how you expect to be trusted back. There's no sense of not definition.
Yeah.
Because in most cases, the trust factor is when you turn something over to somebody. It could be a document, it could be a check, it could be an educational opportunity, and you're hoping they win. You give
Mhm.
somebody the trust and say, I'm going to be doing everything I can to support you, being successful at that. So it doesn't end when I turned it over. It's like I'm here 24/7 if there's something you need to know, right? So if you make yourself fully accessible, that's one less excuse because somebody say, well, I don't want to bother you. I know how you don't like to be called at night. And it's like, no, under these circumstances, wake me up at 3 in the morning if that's what it takes, right? And I think it's your ability to be as open and as trusting as possible that will allow somebody else to say, hey, they're worth trusting because they're not going to lose their mind. And
Mhm.
how many people
Mhm.
say, as long as you make a good effort, even if it doesn't work, I think that's success. Well, if you don't
Yeah.
put the bar too high, you won't get dishonesty. How many people have the truth, but no, you don't want to hear it? Where the messenger got killed by delivering the message versus, other elements. So I see that we're up to 57 minutes. Let me cover a
Wow.
few more. Go so quick, especially with trust. Head of the
Wow.
credit department gave you credit for sharing your information. You earn it by sharing and caring. So true. A 10 level is the pay attention level for a level playing field. Um, Hello, all. I just had my monthly veteran entrepreneur call. The group is the definition of trust. We know and we have each other's back. That's
Yes.
so important.
Yes.
Building trust takes time, but rebuilding trust could take lifetimes, so to speak. So true.
True.
Um, and then Carrie says, since we are unique, we would have to unique up on them. Well, that's possible. But I think everybody deals with trust every day in one way, shape, or another. I trust Amazon to deliver today. I trust
Yes. I
my
do.
car to start every day. I trust this. And when it happens, you just accept it instead of maybe being grateful, you know, by
Yeah.
thanking your car for being so dependable. Maybe it does have ears somewhere. So with that, I want to thank everybody. Beverly, why don't you share final thoughts on trust?
Yeah. No, first I want to thank everybody for consistently coming up and being here and trusting that Dawn would be here and that I would be here on Tuesday. Thank you all. Honesty, transparency, just being reliable, being there, being open. That's what trust is all about on all levels. And I think that when we just go out there and be ourselves and be honest and develop trust, as Dawn said, and you said it so well, when you don't lie,
Mm-hmm.
you
And,
have
and
takes less place in your head. You don't have to think about it. And guess what? You will be building trust. And so thank you, Dawn. Thank you for allowing me to share all this. And thanks to everybody.
well, I'll let you share one more thing. I mentioned that we would talk about what you're doing next and your live show,
Ah,
so
yes.
take a little bit.
Ah, yes. My live show is coming up, and I just want to share that I do not trust Restream, but I'm going to be giving it a shot, and it's going to be on Thursday. And what it really is my podcast, which is pretty well out there. It's been out there for over a year or so, and it's everywhere on Spotify and iTunes. And this time I'm just going to be doing it live. And this person that I'm going to be interviewing this week is really quite incredible. She's a TikTok, what can you say, celebrity influencer, mother of 5 kids, as well as, yeah, she was an abused woman, and she was also a single mother at 18. So she's been through a heck of a lot, but now she's, believe it or not, 150,000 followers on TikTok. Hey, go no, what a world, right? So, and then of course, I'm going to be running my groups, but before that, I'm going to do a free workshop to just empower you to be you. And that's what I'm up to. And Kelly, Trusting Tuesday, great conversation, y'all. I love the y'alls, Kelly. I love the y'alls. Okay. So glad you were here. Okay.
Well, I'm so glad everybody's here, especially Beverly, because Beverly is one of the most trustworthy people I know on LinkedIn. So that's a benefit right there. So with that said, thank you all for taking the time. We trust you to support us as well as our ability to support you, and that's how you can build trust, one show at a time, one comment at a time, and you can build strong and long if you really put your mind to it. So with that said, everybody follow Harvey next and then Kelly next. It's a triple header if you have the time. And tomorrow we'll have Kathleen back, who was just wonderful last week. And then Thursday we've got Kelly with a new gentleman, and his name is Con, K-O-N. So that should be very enjoyable. So, and then next week, we have Lisa Goldenthal coming back again. And then we've got a new lady who I'll be talking to, Linda Goodman. So a lot of great people, a lot of new faces. Terrific. And so nice to see everybody doing so well. So with that said, take care. See you in about 23 hours. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.